Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next in Commerce. My name is Mary, and I lead content and brand at NetGuru. And today I'm meeting with Marcin Łasica, Head of Design Excellence at Allegro. Hello, Marcin.
Hi, Mary. Pleasure to be here.
How are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm especially happy that I'm talking to you because we both know that we know each other from way back. And it's funny how people meet each other later in the career. You never know what happens. Last time we saw each other was like 6 or 7 years back, probably something like that.
Something like that, yeah. It's a small world.
It's a small world. Marcin leads design excellence, big words, at Allegro. And when it comes to Allegro, I want to give our audience a little bit of an introduction, especially to those who are more international, not Polish, not Czech, not Slovak, because that's where the company operates intensely. Allegro is a Polish e-commerce platform present across these 3 countries. I'm not sure, maybe...
Hungary.
Hungary. Thank you. So you guys are in the market for 25 years now. And as far as I've read, we're talking about 20 million monthly visits. It's mind-blowing. And we're talking about more than 20 million active users in the region. So it's a massive, massive entity. And while prepping for this talk, we talked about the possible threads, things that Marcin would love to talk about. And I know that you guys are just about to roll out or have already rolled out a design system. And I'm wondering, how do you roll out a design system in such a massive business environment?
Yeah, that's true. It's quite of a challenge. And we are in the process of rolling out a new design system that will modernize the way users interact with the platform, keep it fresh, but there are many more interesting aspects of rolling out a design system at this very moment in time that I would like to touch upon, because as you know, as everyone knows, we are currently in an AI age in terms of software development. So of course that also affects design systems very much. So maybe let's step back. What is a design system? So I think of a design system as a tool that enables designers, developers to create products that work seamlessly, that are consistent, and that present a usable interface to the users. But while working on this new design system, we figured out that we actually have one more user of our tool that appeared, and that user is AI. So when working on Allegro's new design system, we consider AI as one of our first-class users that needs to be incorporated from the get-go. So when creating a new design system for Allegro, we think about not only how the designers and developers will use it, but how the large language models will be able to incorporate it so that whatever our product and development people create using these LLMs is actually consistent with the platform, that we don't go into hallucination territory and instead have a consistent Allegro experience.
I'm wondering, is that the reason? Is the AI revolution the reason behind you having to rework what you already have right now?
Not necessarily. It's I would say it's an accelerator, an enabler, but that was not the primary reason. The reasons were much more basic. We just wanted to have something fresher and also to improve our technical stack.
And talking about the design system itself, if you can, at least in a little bit, I'm wondering how the new one will differ from the old one, if you can share anything, or which are the areas that you're improving, you're focusing on. I think this would be interesting to anyone dealing with design systems on a daily basis.
Yeah, besides the obvious uplifting of the user interface, which will be maybe slightly more modern and hopefully nicer looking, one of our core principles is focusing on accessibility. So accessibility is integrated in the very basics of the design system, and our goal is to make sure that Allegro is accessible to anyone.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. I love that. Well, of course, we got to talk about AI.
We do, yes.
We do. We all are every day in our work life, in our private lives. So, how do you approach AI in your teamwork? And let's start maybe from your leader perspective.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting topic for design leaders because I think that development teams have embraced AI much earlier, and AI kind of really fits well into the workflow of engineers. Now, design is a bit of a different beast. So, for a design leader, I think there's a lot of opportunities, but also challenges because, there is this promise of 10 times acceleration for development teams, but can we really translate that to design? So that's the question where I think everyone is asking themselves, because some people will say that, yeah, sure, we can design using AI much faster, but I'm not entirely sure if speed was ever the issue with the design process itself. So I think that as a design leader, first of all, I want to make sure that we understand the value of design. And sometimes we can ask ourselves if we have all these language models that are able to create very compelling user interfaces that look very decent, at least on the surface, then do we still need design at all? I think that it's a valid question. I personally think that we do. I think that actually design is more important than ever because producing things fast is really great, but we need to make sure that the quality stays at least the same, if not better. And this is exactly where design shines if it's well done.
And for that, you need a human being, is what you're saying.
Hopefully, yes. No, I do believe that we need a human being, especially if we want to be able to still create something innovative, something new, and still that is really well prepared and distinctive.
But can you think of anything from your leader's perspective that you would like to add to this point? I'm thinking about maybe strategizing or ideating anything. Do you use it as a leader in general?
Yeah, well, as a leader, I use AI quite frequently, but I have different tasks that my team members. So it's a bit of a different perspective. I would say that from a design team perspective, it definitely changes the way you work, but it changes it in many different ways. So it's important to understand. So to go beyond the obvious, because obviously it reduces the time you spend on menial tasks, on repetitive stuff, because that can be done almost instantly. That's great, but it was never really the value that design brought. It was just a necessity. So that's good that we are done with that, that we can deliver some basic things faster. But I think what changes now is that we spend, as designers, less time on the manual and time-consuming work, which gives more time for what is really important. So for product strategy, for thinking about the user needs, or for thinking about how we want to build the product, not only from a UI or UX perspective, but perhaps also from a business strategy perspective. I think it kind of blurs the distinction between a product designer and a product manager or a project manager even. So it shifts things a bit, makes designers more focused on strategy, which I think is a good thing, but also it is demanding. So designers definitely need to adapt to that. And one more thing that I think is worth mentioning is that the way we interact with the language models currently, it's conversational. And so conversation-based product building means that we really need to learn how to communicate well, because designers used to communicate using pictures, perhaps drawings, maybe maybe post-it cards, but now it's really important to be able to vocalize and to put your idea into writing so that it's executed well. So I think communication becomes one of the most important elements now in the toolbox.
I love that you mentioned it, because I don't remember any of our design leader speakers talking about it before. I haven't thought about it myself. We are all different, and with a certain skill sets comes usually certain capabilities and strengths and weaknesses. And when it comes to communication, I've never thought about it, that it might be challenging for some designers to prompt what they're actually thinking.
Yeah. Question is, of course, whether that's the way to go. Maybe some designers will not be prompting. Maybe they will still be doing things manually and use AI in other ways. I think that there is a lot of uncertainty yet, and the tools that are still being developed, they are basically every week we have a new release of something groundbreaking. So I'm not saying that it will always stay that way, but right now communication, I think, is key.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the biggest gains, like AI-driven gains, in your area?
Yeah, first of all is what I already mentioned. So the shift from the execution to more strategic thinking. I think that it's something that designers were wishing for a long time. So now they got it. That's cool. Of course, it brings its own challenges, and there is a transitionary period. But at the end of the day, I think that this is the biggest change, because being a very skilled executioner of layouts is no longer such high value as before, but still it will be important, but at a higher level. And another thing that I think is really exciting is that it enables now designers to use some technical solutions that they perhaps were not using before. They were not able to, or it took too long. So what I'm thinking about in particular is that, at least in my team, designers start to create their own solutions, their own internal tools that they actually use to perfect their designs. What I mean is that instead of directly prompting, let's say, a view, they will create a tool that allows them then to create this view in a very precise way. Because the thing about prompting is that the results are kind of unpredictable. So by what I mean is that that these tools, they are using algorithms that always give you a different output, even if the input is the same. But if you create your own internal tool that then you use to execute design, then the results become predictable again. So I think that's one of the big gains that designers can use, especially if, for example, they create their own plugins in Figma and stuff like that. It really accelerates workflows, but is still in control.
Are you using any forms of agentic AI in the team?
Well, we are using agentic AI quite widely. I'm not sure how much I can get into detail.
Absolutely, but I'm thinking not company wide, but design wise. Agentic AI is slowly becoming part of every team's work. So I believe that it's just going to be normalized pretty soon. But if you cannot talk about it, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I can at least in a broader sense. So we do use it a lot when it comes to knowledge gathering and then accessing this knowledge. Because in a big organization where you have thousands of people working on very different topics, I think one of the biggest challenges is access to the right information at the right time. And I think here, specialized agents that are able to provide you with information from a specific domain or a specific product are really, really helpful. And so this can be information, this can be data, this can be even some technical solutions, but the whole idea is to have a dedicated agent that can give you that instead of looking for the right person on Slack.
Absolutely. We do it the same way here at Nekuru. It's a massive time saver. It's not perfect, not always perfect, but it's worth perfecting, that's for sure. We're being very optimistic. I know that you're very optimistic. You're someone who's taking things as they are and just working with them. But give me some AI drawbacks, some concerns that you have, some fears. I don't know, you may have witnessed some situations that are concerning to you. Yeah.
I wouldn't say fears, but like things to keep in mind when working with AI. I think one of the things, it's more of a personal observation, is that now that we give one person, let's say a designer or a developer, these AI accelerated workflows, they start to build the whole product from beginning to end. So that is a incredible acceleration. That's a fantastic enabler, but at the same time, it creates a one-man army that is very siloed. When you work with AI tools, you mostly work alone. So maybe you have like a team of agents that do stuff, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's issuing the commands and evaluating the outputs. So it creates a risk that when you work alone and have full ownership of a certain part of the product, is that you become disconnected from other parts of the organization, that it all stops working well together. So, if you take a step back, I was thinking about it recently. So back in the days, I've been doing that for quite a long time. So I remember the times where web pages just started being a thing. And when I started designing and developing web pages, it was mostly a one-man job. You would design the web page, you would code it, then you would probably even host it somewhere, maybe write a backend for that. That was one person doing that. And at some point, we decided that it would be nice to split the roles, have a designer, maybe a developer, maybe one front end, one back end, maybe have some kind of Scrum team around. So in general, this path diverged. So now we are converging again. I think it's worth thinking why we did diverge in the first place. And maybe having too much on one person, it does bring some benefits in terms of speed, but we need to also think about the costs of that. So that's one thing that I think is a challenge. Another is that I think many people don't really understand the technology behind it, so that creates unrealistic expectations. And of course, all the AI companies, they are very happy with these unrealistic expectations. So the communication around it in general is very optimistic. And I think it's good to evaluate on your own and see if these promises, they really are fulfilled or not.
Absolutely. That's a fair point. I like both of the points, actually. Again, this point on how AI tools can lead to silos has never been raised before, not on this show, at least.
Yeah, I think because I'm not saying that that's the end game. As I mentioned, the tools, they are constantly evolving. What I am personally missing, I would like to see a more collaborative AI workflow and toolset. I think that it is happening. I saw some new stuff from Figma that goes in that direction. So Figma was one of the first platforms that really allowed product designers to collaborate on a project. I think that was a huge shift and something that many designers were extremely happy about. So I'm kind of waiting for the same thing with AI.
And moving on to strictly ethical perspective, is there an area that you think where we should be especially careful, or what do you worry about the most in terms of design, of course?
Yeah, in general, with ethical aspects, we should always be careful. That's the first thing. So we should not just go gung-ho into it and not worry about the consequences. So yeah, of course, with AI, there's a lot of ethical questions being raised. One of which is potential replacement of workers with AI models. I'm not really concerned about that aspect. I think there's going to be definitely some changes, but I don't see like AI replacing people as such. Of course, the jobs will evolve, the roles will be adapting, but at the end of the day, AI is just a tool, and someone has to use the tool for it to make sense. So my concern is not reductions, rather other aspects of how language models work in general. So large language model is, it's a probabilistic tool. It's mostly focused on figuring out what is the most likely outcome or the most likely next step of a process. So it has to gather that knowledge from somewhere. So first concern is, where does it gather that knowledge from? And is there a risk that using such tools, I will infringe on someone's rights, so on copyrights, for example, on their intellectual property? Of course, AI companies really try hard to avoid that, but the risk is there, and no one really is able to mitigate that like with 100% certainty. So that's one thing. Second thing is the other way around. If I'm using AI tools for development of my proprietary software, is there not a risk that it will be learning from my ideas, from my concepts? Of course, again, this is mitigated by agreements, by the promise from the companies that the models will not be taught on that input. But again, so that's just a promise, but we'll see what happens then. With AI, there's a lot of uncertainty, and even like the idea behind it is that even the people who create the models, they don't have a 100% knowledge of how they work behind the scenes. So there's always a risk here. And besides that, of course, environmental impact, but that's such a that's such a topic that we could be discussing that for a long time.
Yeah, we might not be worrying about it, because from what I'm hearing, we might soon have data centers up
Space.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't polluted space enough yet, so that's a good.
Yeah. Marcin, can you share some of the most interesting use cases of AI in Allegro now from the consumer perspective? Anything, of course, you can share with us that's happening, that's cool.
Yeah. I think that from a consumer perspective, I can share what is already there, because it's quite obviously there already. We have a conversational assistant within Allegro that allows our consumers to use it for shopping. And I think that it really has a huge potential, because the idea here is that you have your kind of an advisor that helps you find what you need. And when I think of how I think about it is kind of like, let's say, a concierge or something like that. In general, when I'm looking for something to buy on Allegro, I have two scenarios. Either I'm looking for a very specific product, and here the search bar is my friend. I don't need an AI assistant. But sometimes I don't need a specific product. I need to solve a problem. So my workflow before that would be to search online, do some research, find the best possible solution, read some reviews. It took a long time. Sometimes I like to do that still, but the thing is that now you no longer need to do that research. You can have a conversation right there on the platform and get some recommendations. So let's say you need to fix your car, but you have no idea what you need. So instead of going on auto forums, you can just chat with the assistant, and maybe you will be pointed to the thing you actually need.
I cannot imagine how this works when you have so much data behind, so many products. It's extraordinary from the back-end perspective.
Yeah, of course, it's it's quite incredible. I don't understand it myself, but I'm always extremely
It
impressed.
works.
Yes, actually, the more data you have, the better the results. So having such a huge inventory actually helps. So
Mhm. Okay. Anything else that you can mention?
well, not maybe I can't really talk about where it
Share
will go from
everything
there,
that's happening, of course.
but in general, we are quite optimistic that we
Mhm.
want to help our clients with these solutions, and I think that Allegro is approaching it in a sensible way, where
Mhm.
we don't push AI to people. We
Mhm.
actually try to solve their problems first.
Oh, I love that. This is actually a great closing point. Would be, but I'm not done yet. I have one more
Okay.
question to you, and that's a question about the future and dreams. I'm just wondering, you're a design leader for many, many years now. What will be your dream as a design leader?
Yeah, that's a good question. And in the context of the changes that are happening right now, I've been thinking about it, and I really wish for a big comeback of craft as a differentiator. I think that uh, right now, since the advent of AI toolings, pretty much anyone can prompt anything and bring it to life, which really raises the bar, because what used to be good enough as a product, I think, is no longer good enough. You need to somehow differentiate yourself. And AI, LLMs, the way they work, of course, being probabilistic, mostly anything they generate converges to something pretty similar, because that's just the way they are. So now, what makes your product different? I think that's the question that design has the answer for, and that is this craft and excellence that may create really delightful products. So my dream is for design to again be the key differentiator and not just a part of the process.
Mhm. I think we are kind of slowly moving in this direction. I hope this will be the actual direction.
I hope so too. I remember the excitement when the first iPod came out, or things like that. And I think that right now, to make a product that really stands out, you again have to do something maybe groundbreaking.
For the end, two super short questions. Give
Okay.
me one or two or a couple more examples of complete bullshit around AI and innovation.
Oh, there's quite a few, I would say. That would be a long list, but let's pick one. Let me think. Uh, I think biggest bullshit is this fear mongering. So from time to time, you read an article how the newest model has escaped its confines. It has hacked something. It tried to escape their creators. They had to constrain it, and they are no longer able to sell that model to other countries because it's so dangerous. I think that is pure marketing bullshit. And really, of course, these models are very advanced. They have very high capabilities, but still, they are only capable of what we allow them to be.
Mhm,
So, this vision of Skynet coming to life and
mhm,
Terminator movies being true, that's not happening with AI, because AI is not sentient, and in the current in the current model of how it operates, it will never be conscious or sentient, because that's just not how things work. But the AI companies, they really like to create that narrative, because it makes their product more, I don't know, maybe more exciting, maybe
powerful.
feel that it's powerful, it's dangerous. Then you think that they really have something incredible there.
Absolutely. News headlines aren't necessarily facts.
Nah, definitely not.
Um, And give me an underrated leadership skill.
I've thought about that quite a lot because, yeah, coming from design, but also in general from leadership at software companies, I think one of the most underrated skills in leaders is good taste. I think that this is sometimes severely lacking. We tend to focus maybe on numbers, KPIs, a lot of things, but not necessarily on good taste, because that's this one thing that can't really be quantified.
And how do you develop good taste?
I think that you have to experience a lot. You have to be open and look around a lot, and it kind of grows within. I'm not sure if that's something you can consciously develop. I think it just becomes part of you if you experience enough of the world.
I do agree. I do agree. The more you experience, the more you see, you observe, the more stays within, basically. Thank you so much, Marcin. I love this conversation and great seeing you after so many years.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
hope
Mary.
you had some fun.
Absolutely. It's been great seeing you again, and I also enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I think that Marcin will be more than happy to answer any questions if you have them. Leave them in the comments, and the person responsible for design excellence at Allegro might respond. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Marcin.
Thank you.